Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the Member Summit 2022. We are very excited to have everybody here, especially for this very interesting topic of getting ready to buy your home. My name is Ruth Kaneko. I am one of the financial educators here with BECU, and we're going to walk you through this process of buying a home, especially looking at the market of today. And so we'll give some good tools and tips that you can learn to have throughout this process. All right, so what are we going to talk about this evening? We are going to look at the different costs that are involved in buying your home, budgeting for home ownership. That really is very important, especially when you're looking at buying your home, things to look for, how much money you should put aside, down payment, things like that. We're going to be looking at getting your credit in order because getting your credit in order is very, very important, especially when you're looking at buying a home. It's one of the biggest factors you're going to have when applying for a home loan, things like that. And we're also looking at their conditional approval. So let's kind of jump into the first kind of go around. But first up, we're going to actually have a poll question. One question is do you know your FICO score? So I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and answer that. And as you do that, then the main reason we ask this question specifically is because it's such a powerful tool to know your FICO score, know where you stand, especially because you want to put yourself in such a healthy position when you're buying your home. So go ahead and answer that poll, and we'll go ahead and get going. We'll go ahead and keep going as you are answering that poll as well. So let's kind of jump into what are the costs involved. Again, like I was saying, when you are purchasing your home, there's going to be a lot of upfront costs. If you are if you are renting right now, you have rent, you have renter's insurance, and those are two of the basic ones that you're going to see, right? When you're buying your home, it's going to look a little bit different. It's going to definitely look a little bit different in terms of costs, in terms of what you want to expect and what you want to prepare for. So let's kind of look at those one-time costs that you're going to have with purchasing a home. You're going to usually really want to kind of bank on these top four areas, right? So you got your earnest money, your down payment, your inspection, and then your closing costs. So those are the four big areas of one-time costs that you want to kind of keep your mindset on. The first one we kind of want to look at is earnest money. Now, earnest money is typically paid by the buyer when the offer is made, so you as the buyer. And basically, this earnest money demonstrates good faith to the seller, right? It says to them, you are serious about buying this home. This is not just a Monday, and you're like, oh, I want to buy that home. This would be fantastic. You've put the thought into it. You know exactly where your money's coming from, right? So this demonstrates a good money. Now, typically, you see your earnest money to be from anywhere from 10% of the down payment. The earnest money is applied towards the purchase price, and it actually is a part of your down payment. So this money is not just going to the seller's pocket; it is a part of your down payment. So keep that in mind as well. Sometimes this could be forfeited if the buyer fails to complete the purchase. Don't freak out too much about that. There's a lot of contingencies when you work with like a real estate agent, and they will protect that earnest money. What that really means is that when you put up your earnest money and this big chunk of money that you're going to be putting up first time, if you back out from this kind of contract with the seller of buying this home for any reason that's not really a legal reason to pull out, then you may forfeit that money, and the seller gets to keep those funds. Things like, oh, I don't like the house anymore. I don't want to buy it. The color's bad. Let's not buy it anymore. Those aren't really great reasons to back out of a contract of buying a home. So maybe think instead of terms of that, maybe you are going around, you've found this home, you've put up your earnest money with this home, and you found maybe black mold throughout the basement, right? That would be a good reason to pull out of this loan and be like, you know what, this is too much. I'm going to pull out of this contract. In that case, you would keep your earnest money. But this is definitely something you'd want to talk to your real estate agent about as well. So earnest money is an upfront cost. Another cost you may see is inspection. An inspection cost, and this is one of those things where inspection is always a good idea in this market. I know in another session coming up, we'll be talking more about the inspection. But inspection is something you definitely want to have. And it can definitely could possibly catch issues with the house that you may not be seeing, right? So an inspector will usually cost you around $250 on up to $500 or a little bit more. And that is something that you're going to be paying for, right? It's ordered by you, the buyer, after the offer is accepted. So a lot of times we don't know inspectors. Inspectors are definitely one of those people, one of those professions or people that I would have to look in the yellow pages, right? Or online yellow pages, because I don't know any inspectors. But a real estate agent that you're working with can definitely provide you with some information, provide you with some contacts, some inspectors that would be helpful in that situation. A lot of times too is that inspectors are really going to see, well, catch issues that you may not be seeing. The inspector's not there to say, oh, this is a great house, we love this house, you're going to love it, right? They're not there to tell you all the fantastic things about this house. They're there to point out all the issues that may arise or that they see, right? These are real professionals who are going to walk around the house. You definitely want to be there with them. I would say definitely be there with them so you can talk with them and things like that. And again, like I was saying, you're going to want to buy the pay the for the inspection to have that done. Now the report is for you and not needed by the lender, so you don't want to give that to your lender, whoever that may be. You really want to keep that report for yourself, right? A lot of people usually ask at this time, well, why can't we just borrow the inspection from the last person who checked the home? That's inspection is specifically for you, so you want to keep hold of that and then go off of that inspection for the things you're going to want to look at. Another thing another cost you're going to want to keep in mind is, of course, the down payment. And like I said, part of your earnest money is part of that down payment as well. But this again just establishes initial equity in the home. And typically you're going to see about 3 to 5% down payment for most programs. So you want to keep that in mind when you're kind of trying to budget of how much you should put aside for a down payment. A down payment is going to be probably one of the largest chunks that you're going to see next to closing costs, which we'll talk about in a second. And it also, just a quick reference, interesting enough, the poll question that we went off before about the FICO score, we're going to be talking about that in a second. So again, I'll hold that for just a moment. But yeah, so you have your down payment, and then you have things like your closing costs, right? So this is another upfront cost, one-time cost when you're buying your home. And this is one of those things where we usually get a lot of questions of, can you roll this closing costs into your home loan? Unfortunately, you cannot. Closing costs are typically, again, one-time upfront cost. And this varies by loan program and lender, right? So if you're a first-time home buyer, maybe you are in a different program. If you're in a different type of loan you're in, these are going to vary based off of those different types of loans. Typically, the average industry cost is about 2 to 3% of the loan amount. So that's a good kind of range for you to kind of go off of when you think about how much you should set aside. It is required in addition to the down payment. So it's not part of it. It is actually required in addition. And then the seller may contribute costs. Now, what we mean by that is a lot of times the sellers, when you're going through this home, you're very interested, you put up your earnest money, you had the inspection done, and you say, the inspector said that this water heater is kind of on its last leg. Maybe you should give me, maybe you can replace it or give me the money for it. Or maybe the seller might say, well, we're not going to give you the money for it, but we'll take some off. Give you money towards your closing costs, right? So that's when the seller could contribute funds there. In this market, not happening as much as we see, but you randomly you sometimes see it in varying contracts as well. So those are the one-time costs. These are going to be things like your monthly expenses. Let's kind of jump into this. So let's say you have already chosen the home, you went through the contract, you have purchased your home, you are now a homeowner. So what are some monthly expenses that you're going to see when you purchase your home? Usually the monthly expenses, again, when you're renting, are renter's insurance and your rent. With a monthly mortgage, you're going to see things like your money is going to go towards your principal, it's going to go towards interest, taxes, insurance, PMI, and HOA dues. So principal and interest, of course, your mortgage payment is going to go towards we call it a PITI. It stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So pity, you have to make insurance payment or mortgage payment. Just kidding. But PITI, just remember that. So the money that you pay for your mortgage is going to go, of course, some towards principal, some towards interest, taxes, and then your insurance as well. Um, a lot of times when you are making your mortgage payment, typically your mortgage payment is going to include all four of those. All four of those items. However, if you maybe perhaps pay more than, let's say, 20% down on the down payment, or things like that, you may decide to pay your taxes and insurance separately, right? A lot of people do like having that one mortgage payment together that includes all four of those items, but you can do it separately sometimes if you have more than 20% down on the down payment as well. PMI is considered private mortgage insurance. So what that is that anytime you do have 20% down, or I'm sorry, less than 20% down on a home, typically you're going to see things like your private mortgage insurance. And what that is that if you have if you put less than 20% down, that PMI really is there to kind of protect the lender in case of a default on the loan, right? Once you hit that 20% down, so you basically make payments on the home, make payments on your mortgage. Once you hit that 20% marker, then that PMI will usually fall off. I say usually because most loan programs, it will happen like that. You want to be up on that as well. What kind of watch, see how much you put into this home, how much of a altogether, and then you can be like, oh, I'm gonna make sure that this PMI falls off. Some loan programs will keep this PMI on there for life. So you want to make sure what kind of loan program, what they're offering, and also what the kind of contract says about PMI. Another thing you may see on your monthly expenses with your home is HOA dues, right? If you have a condo, there's definitely going to be HOA dues, right? Homeowners Association dues or fees. If you have anything like a communal living space, or it's not communal living, sorry, a communal homing area, right, where it says Worcestershire Estates. Well, somebody's got to take care of that sign when you drive into your home area. And usually the HOA will take care of that. Maybe your HOA dues will be like $20 to take care of this sign. Who knows? But just remember that that is definitely a monthly expense that might be there as well. Now, budgeting for home ownership. Unfortunately, this is one of my, not unfortunately, but fortunately, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, just because budgeting for home ownership is so important. And I love this. Somebody once told me that if you are budgeting for a home, and right now you are paying $1,000 in rent, right? Well, let's get real. Let's say $2,000 in rent. And let's say that you are, you're looking at this home, this I don't know, $600,000 home or whatever it is, and this mortgage payment might be around $3,000. Somebody once told me it was a great idea. They said, try to pay your rent, but also take that $1,000 extra and start putting that aside towards like a savings account, so you can feel how it would be like to spend $3,000 on a mortgage payment and see if you're really ready, right? So budgeting for home ownership is really all about getting ready, getting your money ready so that you can put yourself in the best arena to be able to afford and maintain this home. So when you're budgeting for your new home, you really want to determine how the new payment will affect your budget. Like I was saying, if you know that you're paying $2,000 in rent right now and that mortgage payment is going to be $3,000 or $2,500, take that extra $500,000 and just put it towards a savings account so you know how it feels to be paying that $3,000 every month. Is it a stretch? If it is, then you maybe rethink it, right? One kind of rule of thumb is we really want to talk about saving 1 to 2% of the purchase price for maintenance and repairs is vital, right? Because even if it's a new home, a new construction, you're still going to want to change things up a bit, or maybe you want to get rid of some carpeting that looks terrible and you're like, I want hardwood floors, or maybe this refrigerator is keeping me up at night with the humming. I need to change this refrigerator out very, very soon. So we always suggest maybe opening a separate account, nicknaming it home expenses, and just putting money in there for those repairs and maintenance as well. And then reviewing your budget annually, so important. Just remember that when you set yourself up with a healthy budget, that's going to set yourself up for success in the home ownership as well, because you know what you're gonna even if you don't know what's going to happen. Of course, with homes, it's kind of a running joke where as soon as you get a home, something's going to need to be fixed, right? Or the water heater for some reason always goes out as soon as you buy a home. I don't know why that always happens, but not always, but just remember you're going to want to budget and also follow your budget, right? So give yourself some time, go through your budget now. So depending on where you're at in the home buying process, if you're like a year out, take some time right now and just kind of look at your budget, see where you can make some cutbacks, kind of put money here, and know that, okay, I'm going to get myself in a good position to buy this home. Now, getting your credit in order. This is again, actually, I have to say, this is my favorite portion of this slides, because getting your credit order again is so vital when you're thinking about buying your home. So the poll question, and the results were, the question was, do you know your FICO score? And I'm very excited to say that 76% of you all said yes. Very, very proud of you. So let's see. 19% said yes, but haven't looked in a while, and 4% said no. First of all, great job. Those are amazing numbers. We typically see numbers on the lower end of yes, so I'm very, very glad to see that. Just because, again, your score is very, very vital to your home buying, to your home buying power, right? So we talked a little bit about this. Do you know your FICO score? We already got that done. So thank you for doing that. One of the things I just want to real quick point out is if you have not seen your credit score, you can definitely want to check that sooner than later. Also, if you have not seen your credit reports before, I would encourage you to check your credit reports. One of the main reasons is because you want to check for any errors, right? And like I was saying, when you check your credit reports and you know what's on them, it's always a good idea, because you want to make sure there's no errors on there that will hinder you from buying your home. One of the places to look, of course, is annualcreditreport.com. That is the official website to get all 3 credit reports for free. And the credit reports you're going to be looking at are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So all 3 of those credit reports should be saying pretty much the same information, but you want to make sure they're saying the same information, right? When you sit down with a lender or like a mortgage advisor, they're going to talk to you about your credit score, your credit report. So do yourself a favor, check these out just so you have a good idea of where you stand. Like I was saying, a great place to go to find these is annualcreditreport.com. It's, again, the only official website to get all 3 credit reports for free. So it used to be where you could set a ticker, on your phone for once per calendar year, and you could get them free once per calendar year. And so I would just set a ticker on my phone for June 1st. Every June 1st, you pull your credit reports. Now, and the last time I checked, it actually says that you are, due to COVID, you can actually check your credit reports once per week, I believe, for free, which is great. And this is the annualcreditreport.com is a free site, so you can definitely check those reports for free, which is fantastic. So highly encourage you to check those out. It is, again, one of the biggest things you're going to be working on and looking at is your credit report with lenders. So definitely check this out as well. Now, since 76% of you said yes, and 19% said yes, but not looked in a while, your credit score, again, is a reflection of your credit report, of course. So you really want to think about, what is a credit score? What goes into this score, right? So most lenders that you go to when you're buying your first home, or you're buying your home, or looking to get a home mortgage, is most lenders are looking at your FICO score, right? Most lenders will look at that FICO score, and they're going to look at actually all 3 of those credit reports as well. So you really want to take a look at, okay, what in this instance, where should I be falling? What's a good range of score that's going to put me in the best place, and so I will get the best interest rates, and that'll put me in the best area to buy my home, right? So really, this number reflects your credit history. So all of that information on those credit reports is going to go into this 3-digit number. That's why it's so vital that you look at your reports and make sure that there is no errors on those reports. If there are any errors, I would say definitely look at them specifically and make sure that you have um, disputed those errors right online. Typically, if you have a dispute on your credit report, you can actually look at that report, dispute it right online, and the credit bureau actually has to get back to you within 30 days after you have put up your dispute. Now, don't dispute everything. I would say don't dispute everything. I've seen that happen where somebody said, "Oh, I'm just going to dispute everything." Don't do it. Credit reports are not silly. They know what's going on. So really look at those credit reports with a fine-tooth comb, knowing that those reports are going to go into this three-digit number, right? All that information. Now, typically with your credit score, of course, the highest or the range is 300 to 850. This is basketball, not golf, of course. You higher the score, the better. And of course, you want to go to myfico.com. That's a good place to check your credit score. As a BECU member, you can actually see your credit score right online too in your online banking. If you go and you go into your online banking, there should be a little box there on the side that says check my FICO score. You can check that anytime. So for those of you who haven't seen it in a while or you have never seen it, check it out. It's pretty cool. You can do that right now. Yeah, anytime you want to. And checking your credit score and your report does not affect your credits, does not affect your credit score. A lot of people are sometimes worried about that. Well, if I check my score, if I check my reports, is that going to bring down my score? And the answer is no. That is a soft inquiry. It is not going to affect your score. The only time a score is usually affected is when you are, well, one of the times is when you solicit a loan from a lender, right? And so just remember that. Now, typically, a lot of times when people ask, well, what's the best credit score I could have that I could get the best rates? Typically, you want to say probably in the 750 and above range. That typically will get you the best rates possible for for a home loan and for other loans. But that's something you really want to kind of take into account, right? So 750 and above. Now, normally we have people ask, well, what about if I get an 800 score? Or what if I'm at an 820? And congrats, that's fantastic, right? That's kind of just bragging rights right there. But for me, I would for these purposes, for your credit score when buying a home, you're going to get the same rate if you're 750 or 850, right? It's more of a 800, right? 850. So just keep that in mind as well. A lot of times people will ask, well, what if I am applying with a partner, my spouse, whoever it may be, I'm applying with another person. How does that work with our credit scores? And that's a really good question because a lot of times when we have another person on that, if we have a couple going in on a home loan, they're going to look at both of the people's scores and they're going to take the medium of the lowest of the medium score, right? So you want to keep that in mind as well. So that kind of goes into your score as well. Now, like we were saying before, it's a really good idea to be able to think about, again, putting yourself in a great position to be able to improve your score so you could have that better buying power when you're looking at purchasing a home. So like we said before, in order to improve your credit, you want to, again, dispute those errors. You want to create proof of payments made. So one of the things, unfortunately, we see often is, what do you call it, parking tickets. Woohoo, right? Those fantastic parking tickets that we all know and love. So parking tickets, super fun, right? But unfortunately, sometimes those parking tickets go into collections. And because we don't pay them or we forgot and we didn't know. Or we didn't know we had them, excuse me. And so typically, let's say you find it on your credit report, you pay it off. 2 years down the road, the collection agent comes back to you and says, we need this payment. We never received it. You need to keep those receipts of any type of payment made. So you can be like, nope, I got it right here. Here's my receipt for this. Here's my electronic receipt or my email that I got, right? So they know, and so you know that you have made those payments, and so you can follow up with, nope, I've made the payments. We're all good. They can't come after you again for that. Pay down revolving debts is a really big thing as well. But don't close them. So this is a really good point. So when you're going to purchase your home, the lenders like to see a good I would say, mixed portfolio of credit, right? So if you only have all revolving debt, which would be things like credit cards, lines of credit, things like that, um, lenders like to see that you have a good mix of revolving debt and installment loans, right? Maybe you paid off your car, maybe you had an automobile. This is not to say that you want to rush out and get an automobile. This is not saying that you want to rush and get an automobile to get a home loan. Not saying that at all. But lenders like to see a healthy mix of those two. So you definitely want to pay down your that revolving debt if you have any, especially if you have a high that you're at a high limit of your debt right now. You really want to start paying those down so you get yourself a good healthy DTI, or debt to income ratio, right? And then always make your payments on time. Sorry, let me go back, but don't close them. So this is another thing you want to be careful of doing. You want to be careful that you want to pay down those debts that you have to get yourself in a good position to apply for a home loan. But at the same time, you don't want to close those cards out, because that can affect your credit score as well. So I would say pay them down, but don't close them yet. But the biggest thing I would say is make your payments on time. Start today by being like, I am planning on getting this home. I'm going to start making my payments on time. And I think we have a couple questions coming in, so I'm going to hand it over to see if we have any questions at the moment.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi, Catherine.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So we have a question from Holly. She says, was that the lowest of both scores when there are two people?
Yes, it's the lowest of the median score. So typically with a lender, with BECU, I'll use us as a for instance, we believe take the lowest of the three scores. So you've got three scores, one from TransUnion, one from Equifax, and one from Experian. So they're taking the median, the lowest of the median score, right? So they accumulate all three scores, and then they get the lowest of the median score. So then they're taking both for there. Good question.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing such a good job. We don't have any other questions at this moment.
Perfect.
Oh, something just came in. From Katie, can you explain escrow shortage? Will my total monthly payment change over time, even with a fixed mortgage? Is that maybe two questions? Sorry.
That would be, yes. And actually, I'm wondering if we can, let me table that question real quick, because let me table that question for a second until we get to a little bit later on that one.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Perfect. All right. Any more questions?
Do you have a couple more slides to do, or do you want to keep going with questions?
Let's go ahead and do a couple more slides.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Let's go ahead and take some more questions. That'd be fine.
Okay, so we're gonna wait on escrow shortage. How about what if you pay all debts in full but leave the credit open?
So that's great. So the reason we say keep those open a lot of times is because if you want to pay them down, that's perfect. That's fantastic, right? Paying your debts down, getting your DTI to a lower number, that's wonderful. I would say, yeah, just don't close them yet. This is the reason is because you want to talk to your mortgage advisor, or your talk with them about, okay, how do I look? Should I close them out now? I would always say keep them open, but pay them down for sure. If you pay them, instead of paying them, you can pay them down, pay them off. Because the reason is because you're going into things like ratios. So let's say, for instance, that you have 5 credit cards. And on each credit card, you are taking $1,000. You got $1,000 limit on each one of those 5 credit cards. Let's say that you have borrowed $500 on each one of those credit cards, and so now you only have $2,500 available to you, right? Now, if you pay off 3 of those cards and you close them out, now you're only going to have $1,000 available to you. So it's all about the ratios, especially when it comes to your credit score. Yeah, good question.
Awesome. One here we have is, do you have any tips, or can you recommend a refinance company during a Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
Oh, off the top of my head, that would be a hard one to answer. But you can definitely email us. Feel free to email us, and we can definitely get those answers to you. But that would take a little bit of research for sure, but we can definitely get those answers to you.
That's right. I think if anyone has questions that we weren't able to answer tonight, you can send them to community relations, all one word, communityrelations@becu.org. Those are all the questions we have for now. We do have a little more time, but Yeah, I think we're good for questions for now.
All right, sounds good. I know we have a couple more slides, so we'll go ahead and go back to the slides. Sounds great. All right, so we have the conditional approval. So going back from the looking at your credit, getting your credit in order, now we kind of jump through, okay, conditional approval. What does that look like? A conditional approval is where you're going to basically apply for a credit, I'm sorry, apply for your mortgage loan. So this is where the kind of rubber meets the road and you're ready, set, gotten yourself in a good, healthy position with your credit. You got down payment, you got everything ready. Then you make then you do the loan application. So with this, there's going to be a couple of the checklists, a couple things you want to bring with you when you apply for the home loan. Now, some people like to apply for the home loan over the phone, in person, over the internet. Just depends on your style, what you like. But there's always two different types of people who come to do a home loan, right? There's one person who's like, it's a Tuesday, I'm ready to buy it, right? Let's do the home loan. The other person brings this giant manila envelope with their third grade report card because you never know, you may need it. That would be me. And you're ready to buy this home, right? You kind of want to go in the middle road here. So some things you might want to bring with you when you're thinking about your home loan are things like your home address, right? Within the past 2 years. So may ask you, they're definitely going to ask you, your lender's going to ask you where you've lived in the past 2 years. Social security number for each applicant. So whoever's applying on the home loan, definitely keep that handy. They're going to ask you about employment history. So whenever you are looking at your employment history, they're going to ask you, where have you worked in the last 2 years? A lot of times we get questions of, well, I'm a student, I just graduated, can I still apply for a home loan? Absolutely, right? If let's say you have just changed jobs and you're thinking, oh no, I have to wait another 2 years to get this home, that may not be the case either. What you could do is that you have let's say you have quit your job, but you've gotten to another position that's the same kind of job that you did before. So that can include in those 2 years as well. So keep that in mind, employment history for the last 2 years, both people. Um, a lot of times people will ask also about income information. The lenders are going to ask about that. So your gross salary, you may need to bring your pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, things like that. You're going to want to know about your liabilities. Now, typically the lender is going to be able to pull those and see those on your credit report. So they're going to see the liabilities that you have. You also want to kind of keep in mind what kind of liquid assets do you have for your down payment and closing costs. And sorry, I don't know why I said kind of. You're definitely going to want to know where those are coming from because your lender's going to be like, okay, they may want to see, and they usually want to see your bank statements, or usually for going back a couple of months, right? Because they're looking for where is that money going to come from for your down payment and closing costs. Is this in your account already? Is this money going to be a gift from a relative for maybe your down payment? If it is, maybe you need to get it into your account for a specific amount of time, or you could have them fill out a gift affidavit if you are getting a down payment, a gift as a down payment. You're going to need them to fill out like a gift affidavit so the lender knows that you're not getting a loan for this down payment. So they're going to look at your bank statements. They're going to also want to know if you have any real estate that you've owned or that you currently own. You may be thinking, well, I wouldn't have that, but you never know. Maybe you were included in a thing where maybe all 10 of your brothers and sisters got together and purchased a lake home, right? And your name may be on the deed, right? So you never know. So they're going to want to know that information as well. All right, so that was a lot of information. I'm going to see if there are any more questions coming in. And Catherine, I'll go ahead and jump back over to you and see if we have any more questions. Go ahead.
I haven't seen any new ones come in. I don't know if our folks on the back end who are watching the questions have anything to add. Let me see if I can jump in here. Okay, here's one. Is it better to go directly to your bank and ask for a mortgage loan, or is it better to go through a broker?
So that's just, it's up to you. It's definitely up to you to do that. I would always say if you are with a financial institution already and you want to check the rates of where you want to look for a home loan. Again, it just depends on up to you for sure. I would say definitely looking at a place that you already have a relationship with might be a good place to start. And when you're looking at applying for a home loan, they actually call it the 14-day rule. So you actually have, you want to, whenever you're applying for home loans, you want to mark your calendars for a good 14 days. And in that 14-day window, you can do as many credit inquiries on your credit for home loans. And at the end of that 30-day period, when your credit rebounds, it'll only show us one inquiry on your credit report. And that's how they save you because it's the same thing when you go to do like an auto loan. If you go to a dealership and you apply for an auto loan and the dealership will like pull your credit umpteen amount of times because of course they want to get you this loan. Well, how can they do that without just tanking your credit score? It's the same thing. There's that 14-day window, so you can do as many credit checks. And this is put in place specifically for consumers so that the consumers can have the ability to apply at different places. So that's set in place for you. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's see. We have one here from Faustus. What is the minimum score in order to get a mortgage?
Oh, that's a good question, and I hate to say it depends, but it really depends on the loan program that you're going into, and a couple of different factors. So that's one of the things you definitely want to sit down with somebody and talk with somebody about, specifically looking at your individual score, looking at your situation, because it's kind of dependent on the loan program.
Cool.
Yeah, good question.
Thanks. When you complete a loan application, do you have to have a specific house in mind, or can you apply for a certain amount ahead of time?
Yes. No, you don't have to have the specific amount or home in mind. A lot of people ask that. They're like, oh, well, I have to go looking first and then I can find it and then I'll apply. Nope, you just need to know how much you think you can spend on your home, how much home you want to buy, basically. And you're really looking at the number that you can afford. That's where that whole budgeting key comes in. Yeah. So definitely look at how much you can afford, how much you want to be able to pay for a home, and then once you get that and you got your conditional approval, then you can go look at homes. That's not to say you can't go shopping around for homes and looking around, but definitely look into, you can definitely apply for the home loan first.
Awesome. Well, I think we have about 2 minutes left, just time for one more question. Does the 30-30-30 rule still apply in this crazy market?
I'm going to have to defer that to one of my coworkers, actually. But that's a really good question because I don't have an answer for you on that one, unfortunately. But I will defer to them, who I know next up we're going to have speaking with another one of our mortgage advisors. So I will actually, if you want to hold that question, we'll get her to answer that for sure. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, though.
Fantastic. Well, I think that will be it for our questions. As Ruth just said, we have some folks coming up who can answer more questions in the next session. And also, if you have questions that we're not able to answer tonight, you can always send them to communityrelations@becu.org, and we'll make sure the right folks get through to you to answer your questions.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, good luck, everybody. It's a great, it's a, right now, especially it's a hot market. So definitely good luck to everybody out there. And it is still doable. Don't get so frustrated. It is still doable. And happy or good luck on your home hunting and home search.